So this whole idea of market orientation, customer orientation, competitor orientation, interfunctional coordination, is there any kind of a story or anything that you could tell us that kind of helps bring this to life in terms of how you've seen it happen, how you've seen it work?
Yeah, I'm kind of laughing a little bit because when I was really rolling up my sleeves and digging into this whole concept and doing some research on it, I won't name the company, but I used a large world-class company as an example because they were market oriented. Whether they knew it or not, they were filling all the tenets of it. And then I used a government agency to compare them to. As you may have imagined, the customer orientation, it was drastically different in both of them. And the competitor orientation, government doesn't see it as having any competitors, but they do. They do. And then the interfunctional coordination, night and day, just drastically different too. So part of that research involved surveys and some analytics along that. And the success and the perception of that world-class market-oriented company versus the one that wasn't, huge disparity, dissatisfaction. And somebody had even said to me, "You could take this and help the government with some of the agencies." I didn't want to touch that. I'm not going to go there. But it was an interesting experience. And then one other thing that I didn't mention to you earlier is that with the market-oriented organizations, it also affects the composition of who they hire to support that. So as you may imagine, if you hire people that are like, "Hey, I just wanna do my job, keep my head down," they're not gonna have necessarily that customer orientation and thinking about, as you and I had talked about the empty chair at the meeting, to represent the voice of the customer.
Yes.
And someplace, if you hire somebody who's saying, "Well, I don't care, I just know I wanna do this over here," that's gonna impact that. Same thing with the competitor orientation. We just have the blinders on. We know what we're doing. There's not too many in our space. We should be fine." If somebody has that kind of demeanor or perspective, you may not achieve this. And then the interfunctional coordination, you have to have people who are willing to go beyond their status quo of what they're charged to do. And I think this also gets back to why it's so hard for so many CMOs because we have a lot of pressure to perform at certain levels, but then you've got to go out of the box and say, well, how do I make a positive impact across too? So really who you hire makes as much of a difference to support a market oriented structure as much as the structure itself.
Couldn't be said better. Happy employees mean happy clients, happy customers, because you're hiring the right people to fill this role. I talk to CEOs that have very different visions of the roles for their CMOs or for their CROs. So we all have to have one market alignment, one orientation, and then there are that roles that fit in and support that. And if we don't have that kind of guidance, then we're contributing to the silos happening internally. So I love that you made that point.